All right. Is it okay if I ask you about some scandals, just your opinion, even if you don't have any ties to these people?
Okay, I probably
Just
do.
because you've been around, for so long, I feel like you would have an opinion at least. We've covered Studio 54, we've covered Donald Trump, so I'm going to not ask about those anymore. What do you think of Paris Hilton's rise to fame? Someone who is, a different generation than you, but
I
go go ahead.
I love Paris Hilton.
Okay.
First of all, I'm very, very close to the Hiltons.
Okay.
I was there when Paris was in a baby buggy, and Nikki was in her crib. So I am very partial to her. I think she's fabulous. She opened the Jingle Bell Rock last week, singing a song. She was fabulous. I am her biggest fan. I
Oh,
think
good.
she is so special. You have no idea how hard this girl works. She has a perfume company that does $22 million a year. She works every day on a product, every day on a thing, every day on a television show. She's got two of the cutest little babies of all times and a fabulous husband. So I'm like her biggest fan.
Oh, I
Um,
love it.
and Kathy, I'm mad for Kathy. Kathy and I gave Kathy her 19th birthday or 21st birthday party at Studio 54. So I have nothing but accolades for them. I'm crazy about all of them. In fact, this week I'm going to two parties at their house.
Oh, good. Okay.
And I'm,
Um,
I'm the biggest fan of all times.
Good. Princess Diana's death. Where were you when that happened, and were you surprised by the whole thing?
Well, I was friendly with Dodi Fayed.
Oh, you were.
Yeah. And actually I know exactly where I was at the second that I found out about it. I was in my apartment in Los Angeles. And do I think she was murdered? Is that what you want to know?
Yeah, like where were you? What were your thoughts on it?
It's one of those unanswered crimes, but
Mm,
I think that it very possibly she could have been murdered. There's so many extenuating circumstances. The car was an old car. The driver was drunk. You know what I'm saying? There's
yeah.
so many things, um, and we know that. First of all, Dodi Fayed's father wanted more than anything in the whole world for him to, because he wanted a Muslim child in the royal family. That was like his goal.
Mm.
He really pushed this marriage. And I knew Dodie quite well, and Dodie really wasn't up to her standard.
Oh, interesting. What do you think of the way that people treat Harry and Meghan?
I, I'm I I'm not a big fan of Meghan's. I think that she married him intentionally to get rid of, try to address her knocks for the royal family. I mean, when you marry somebody that's in the royal family, you go with the program. That's
Right.
how I feel about it. I feel it. I think I'm sure if he'd given his comeuppance, he'd get on the next plane and go back to London and go back to working with his family. That's what he is. He's part of the family. I feel sorry for him.
You
He
do.
doesn't have any friends, I mean, but the royal family is a network.
Mm.
Lives together, plays together. Everything is together. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And he stepped out of his comfort zone, and I don't think she's really made him happy. I
Well,
can't imagine, because every time they keep taking away, this and taking away that. And I think that, and I have great respect for the royal family, and I understand how traumatic it must be for them not to have him there. Um, I mean, I hate to, make a guess, but I think sooner or later that they will get divorced and he'll go back and they'll embrace him again and he'll be back where he should be or where he wants to be, I think. I
oh,
don't think,
that's an interesting prediction. I mean, I sort of read it as, I mean, so many people dislike them, but I really was trying to read more into the psychological part of it, that he was so screwed up basically by what happened with his mother. He loved her so much, and to see this woman that he loves, treated in the same way of the paparazzi coming after her, I thought he just felt like he needed to retreat because he was scared of that happening again. But it seems bigger than that, because it just seems like they're trying to make so much money and nobody likes them. And he's been completely torn from his family. It seems terrible.
right, that's exactly right. I mean,
Yeah.
And
I think you're right. He'll end up back there.
his brother has made it very difficult for him, and
Yeah.
rightfully so. You know, it's hard to embrace someone that sort of slapped you in the face and left.
Right. Right.
You know, I have
I,
great respect for the royal family, but it's like anything else. You don't want to put yourself in harm's way,
mm,
and you don't want to have anybody. I don't know. To me, I think it's really screwed up. I think if given his chances, he'd be on the next plane back to London.
right. Right. Okay. What were your thoughts on the Madoff scandal? Did you know anybody that was involved with Bernie?
Ironically enough, I never knew Bernie Madoff. When I left, don't forget when I left being a stockbroker, he wasn't around then. And I had met him. I'll never forget. I went to dinner one night. I have a lot of male friends. We went to dinner. We went to where did we go to dinner? Carmona. And he came over to the table, and everybody was sort of like bowing to him and everything. I'm like, who is this guy? He said, "You don't know who Bernie Madoff is?" I said, "No, who is he?" And they told me the story. I was surprised that I'd never heard of him. And then when the shit hit the fan, there were a lot of my friends, unbeknownst to me, that did take a big hit. I think a lot of them got some of their money back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a scandal. I don't know how anybody could have pulled that off. It was so bizarre.
Right.
Greed. It's all greed.
Agreed.
It seems too good to be true. It usually is. To get 25% on your money, you know that that's not going to work.
Right. Speaking of crossing paths, when you were a stockbroker, I know that you knew Jeffrey Epstein, but you want to tell people your thoughts. Do you think he was murdered or you think he killed himself?
I think he was murdered.
I do too.
And so
he had too big of an ego. Why would he kill himself? He would think that he could get out of it.
Right. That's exactly right. You got that right.
Yeah. I don't know how anybody would think that a guy like him would kill himself. That's just crazy.
Okay, so I lived around the corner from Jeffrey Epstein. I live on 68th Street. He lived in the Solo building on 67th. And Bob Meister, who was in the insurance business, introduced me to him. Mm-hmm. He was very good looking at the time. I'm talking long before this ever happened, maybe 20 years. Mm. And we became, friends-ish. And one night I called, and this is what he told me. He told me that he was a concert pianist and that he was a corporate spy, and he worked for corporations trying to find out who was stealing money within the corporations. He told me one other thing, but I can't remember what it was. So one night I was invited to this big event, and he said to me, will you take me to this event? I'd like to go. I said, okay. The only picture that was ever taken of me with Jeffrey Epstein is in the documentary. So one picture ever that was ever taken. I saw the documentary. I can't believe that this picture's in it. Anyway, so halfway through dinner, he turned to me and he said, I have to go now. I said, excuse me? What do you mean you have to go? He said, look at it this way. Just pretend I'm a doctor and I have to go make a house call. I was like, so why did you come with me to begin with? So he left. He called the next day to apologize. I never accepted his apology, and I never spoke to him again. Right after that, Ghislaine's father mysteriously died. Right. Fell off the boat. No way he could have fallen off the boat. He weighed like 350 pounds. So he was murdered too. He was in a lot of problems. So on the front page of every newspaper in the world was a quote from me. Nikki Haskell said, it's always a Nikki Haskell said. I'm always, when in doubt, it's Nikki Haskell said. But I didn't know anything about. Don't forget, he was in jail once for this, and then he got out. Very arrogant. Yeah. And I never saw him after that night. That night that I went to that event with him, and as things unraveled, and this pedophilia thing, and this trafficking of young girls happened, and they put him in jail. Of course, they killed him.
Right.
It's hard to strangle twice.
Yeah, right.